Hello, welcome to the quality coding stream. Hey, Mudshark, good to see you. Anyone else coming in, do use the chat and say hello. How come my hello thing didn't work? Watch, now that there are going to be like several chat messages from me as they come blurting out. Let me try this one more time. Come on. Nope, my button's not working. Whatever. Hello and welcome. I am John Reed. I'm a technical coach and trainer with Industrial Logic, as well as you may know me from my own site. Let's see, before we get into coding, first, anyone who's watching this after the fact, whether you're watching on Twitch or on YouTube, hey, consider subscribing if you like what you see. And I also want to mention that Ukraine is still on our minds. It is indeed. Hang in there, people. And, well, we had Wwdc. Any thoughts about Wwd? Other than my admittedly salty video. For the past 2 years, I've done a video wrap-up of what's new specifically for unit testing. And this year I went in all prepared, thinking, okay, I'm going to take notes and I'm going to make a cool video and release it sometime after Wwdc. And then I saw that there really wasn't, well, there was a session on the Friday session. There was one about testing for Xcode Cloud, which I'm not likely to use. Not soon anyway. So I made a really salty video. Let's see if I can find that for you. Let me look it up. Where am I? No, just want the details. There we go. All right. I'll post this for whatever it's worth. You can, yeah. It's not long. So, my own thoughts about Wwdc are that clearly Apple, as expected, it's not a surprise. Still, it disappointed me, and I let that get to me. It's not a surprise that Apple is doubling down on SwiftUI and declares it as the recommended way now moving forward. Also not a surprise is that they didn't provide any ability to microtest or unit test the thing. This remains a disappointment to me. There is View Inspector, I know, but I worry about View Inspector. And the reason I worry is that it's maintained by one person outside of Apple. And now, he has to play catch up with everything new that was announced. So, anyway, them's my thoughts. Do you have anything you'd like to share from like what you observed? Maybe something a little more positive. I mean, there was a lot of cool Swift UI stuff, right? I'm also excited about faster build time in particular. That is cool. Faster building and linking, that'll definitely help with what we do here. Well, what I do with whoever I'm working with to get them into patterns of faster feedback. I'm back to my not green mug. That was funny when I found that lifting up the green created a hole in my face and let the cover of my book show through. By the way, I haven't plugged it in a while. There we are. This thing here. Check it out if you haven't seen it. It won't help with SwiftUI, but it will help you with everything else. All right, well, let's get into it. I still think we're in the home stretch as long as I don't screw it up like I did last time and take big steps. In fact, I've got a little thing here in the chat which you can use to tell me make smaller changes. And we have a first-time chat from Tsuki the Dwagon. Hello, Tsuki the Dwagon. Where in the world are you? I'd love to hear. Wwdc has me super excited for iOS 16. Very cool. Anything in particular? Do share. Nova Scotia, welcome from up there. Canada, eh? Oh, the lock screen stuff. Yes, that is going to be cool. The ability to put widgets on your lock screen and then write widgets, right? I mean, that's what we get excited about. So that's going to be cool. I agree. I do agree. I just wish there were a way to write tests for SwiftUI. Hey, Garbob. I think SwiftUI is great for testing. I unit test my view model. Yep. And I know that SwiftUI will follow, or it's Apple's bug, not mine. Yeah, that's sound advice. Basically, move as much as you can outside of SwiftUI. The problem I have is that SwiftUI has loops and conditionals and data flow. And I would like to test all those things without looking and without firing up any UI tests. Suki, I'm not really into iOS dev much because I don't have a Mac yet. I have to get a Mac for college, though, for the program I'm in. So I'm really looking at getting that M2. Oh, yeah. Oh, you're going to be lucky. That's going to be a sweet, sweet machine. You can start, even before you get your Mac, you can start playing with Swift, the Swift programming language, on your machine. It may take a few hurdles, but to get over. But look into that. Oh, so congratulations and good luck on your journey. That's exciting. Graphic design, where Macs reign supreme, even though technically there's no reason for them to anymore, right? Computers are way more awesome than they used to be across the board. But historically and culturally, Macs were where computer design really was born, starting with desktop publishing, and that was radical in those days, and then it kept moving forward. Now you can make movies, but you can do that on anything now. So To be fair, they said I could use a normal PC, but come on, when do you get an excuse to buy a Mac? Especially the M2. That's a great excuse. Yeah, go for it. Go for it. Just, there is a lot of Apple fanboy. I mean, there's always a lot of Apple fanboyism going around where people declare that Macs are superior to other machines, and they're not. They're different. They're different. Oh, so if you have Linux, excellent. Then it'll be even easier, I think, for you to get started if you haven't already exploring Swift. Swift is a pretty cool language, I gotta say. Hey, let's get coding. But do feel free to keep chatting, and other folks, as you come in, ask me anything, whether it's about what I'm doing or not. I welcome your chats. All right, let us, yeah, just different. That's all. Which means you're going to have to get used to it. Hey, I use 2 IDEs. People shake their heads. They don't understand, but I've actually learned, my fingers have learned keyboard shortcuts for 2 different programming environments, so you can do it. All right, we are moving the presentation verifier over from Objective-C to Swift, and last time we had a misadventure where I decided, all right, there's, I'm tired of these small steps. I want to move in big steps, and completely fell flat on my face. So it's back to small steps. And greetings, Wheelbarrow. Why are you using Appcode? I use it because it is better for what I need, which is faster feedback, code generation, and refactoring. There is some code generation that Xcode does that does better than Appcode. And certainly for SwiftUI previews and anything involving a storyboard, Xcode is easier. Well, for the storyboard, it's necessary. For SwiftUI previews, there is a way to use to set up your own preview with Appcode outside of Appcode, but it's just easier to use Xcode. And you get not just the one preview with Xcode, especially the new beta. You can see, like, lay it out for me in all sorts of different things, different like show me different font sizes all at once. So for that, it's definitely easier to use Xcode. But for refactoring and testing, and test-driven development, which is what I live and breathe, except for SwiftUI, it is quite good. There are things that I wish it had that it does not have yet, but Xcode doesn't have those things either. All right, so let's carry on. We've moved the post notification. There's the rest of the presentation verifier. And let's see what we got. So here is, this is Objective-C. Here is the method that, this used to be a longer method, and I thought I could convert it all in one shot, but instead fell back to a good pattern, which is make it smaller by using extract method, and then move that one method over, which we did. So let's move the rest now. There's very little left here, and we can move this over to Swift. And this is called, right here in the Swizzler, Swizzling is at runtime replacing one method with another, saying don't actually present a view controller right here. Instead, call this other thing, me, or well, the spy. Call the spy and it will capture the view controller you present, and it won't actually present it, but then you can microtest it. So let's carry on. Our goal, our starting goal, and I'll mark this as in progress, is to move the rest of the presentation. Here we go. We'll start by copying, going over to the Swift side of things. This is the method we moved. And let's slap in our reference and begin. And here for reference, here's one we've already done, which probably has the same signature. It does. It looks like the same signature, just a different name. So let me start by grabbing that much. Like that. And we'll have to give it a different name. This is capturing it, except it will be capturing it too. Like that. And this should build. I see no errors, but I'm going to give it a build anyway. Just to see. All right. And that's good enough for me to make a micro commit. Oh, I forgot. I had done this before starting the stream, but run the tests. Here I didn't need to actually run the tests to validate this thing because nothing is calling it yet. I just wanted to make sure it built okay. So this will be a non-provable refactoring, sort of the beginning step of a refactoring, which is lay down skeleton. I'll just say skeleton. Let me resize that a bit so that you can see it. There we go. Skeleton of present VC. That's good enough. All right. The thing about micro commits is that it is like a climber moving along, climbing a mountain face, and at every step, not a free climber, somebody who's scared like me, attaching the safety rope at every point where there's a place to attach a safety, and an important practice is to make your steps smaller, and that, like here, this is a good start. I like this start. Let us proceed. Here we do a load view if needed, which we can grab right here, and the closure container, which we can get right there. And we call this. Post notification about present. There we go. So we should be able to pass in the view controller to present, the animated flag, and the closure container. And that should do it. Like, I'll I'll keep this here for reference. But let us see if that does the trick. As usual, we have the problems of Swift names, but we rely on our IDE to complete it for us. So now I've laid down, the old thing is in place. I've laid down the new thing. Let's try switching to it and see if we are successful. Sometimes we are, but sometimes we're not, but this time we are. So that is good. This is a test-supported procedural refactoring. That comes in as R dash, R minus. Switch to new, present VC capture. Excellent. Following our checklist here, we've switched to calling it. Now we can remove the old version and rename. So this is what is now gone. Let me do a safe delete on it and rerun. That's good. This is I'll call this test supported. Delete. The Wwdc version. And over here, we can get rid of the comments. And this is really, it's like developer facing documentation. But remove comments is a refactoring. I'm gonna call this remove commented out Wwdc example. And hang on a second. I'm gonna restart my my loop deck because it is not picking up any communication with OBS. And I really like how it lets me see how many people are on. So does Appcode, oh, Paige, who are you, man? Hang on a second. Let me get this rolling again. Okay, now I can see we've got 5 folks here, and hello, Paige. Does Appcode have the ability to run your unit tests on save? It has a TCR thing, which I have not been able to use in this project, but it is a plugin called Limited Whip. And Limited Whip, so it's kind of the opposite of what you're saying. You're saying run tests on save, and I'm saying commit on a successful test. So it's a little different. I've never seen run tests on save. And you'll have to show me this in IntelliJ. I know that folks writing NUnit do this with NCrunch. So I'd like to see that. You'll have to show me sometime. Big question from Tsuki. Tsuki the Dragon. I want to say just curious. I did just watch The Life of Brian recently. And just curious, what is unit test based development? Think of it this way. And if you look up that term, that's not what people call it usually, but I think I understand what you mean. Think of it as working in the scientific method, where you say, I predict that this code will have this effect. And so you encode that prediction. You're frozen? It's just you, Garbob. Sorry, man. You encode your prediction in a test. And the test will then, so that takes some coding. So you're coding in two different places. You're coding the thing you want to ship, and you're coding this essentially a scaffolding, like around a building, that lets you move quickly and safely. And you write your prediction in the form of an automated test, and then you code until the test passes. Then you know it does what I said it would do. And then, and this is the magic part that people miss, then you can clean the heck out of it. Here, what we're doing with this code is I'm not developing new code, but I'm shifting it, leaning on my tests, which I'm very confident in, to catch me. And they have caught me many times over the course of this project. The tests will tell me if I broke anything. And so we move in small steps, and as long as the tests pass, I'm confident that it works. And consequently, I'm able to make a commit. And at the end of these sessions, I push it to my main branch on remote, so that everyone can have it. So that is, in a nutshell, that is test-driven development, or TDD. And you can learn more about that on my site, qualitycoding.org. Yeah, there you go, TDD. And you can also find maybe some useful things on the Industrial Logic blog. Go check it out. Let's see, where were we? I generally prefer doing stuff in light mode. Oh, we can have a battle between light and dark, but this is what I go with. I don't know why dark is more popular. I like it because it's easier on my eyes. Maybe you like it because your eyes are younger. And I don't know. I know that some folks, they like you, prefer it because it just feels maybe more natural. Working in dark is kind of unnatural. You pick whatever you want, whatever works for you. All right, so let's see. What did I just do? Remove the commented out. Okay, so now I'm ready to rename. And I'll do an automated rename and run tests. And they're good. And so that is a provable refactoring. And we're done with that. Ta-da! On to the next step, which is moving the swizzling. That was up here, capture present. That is it. Okay. So this we want to have also on the Swift side of things. Oh, wait. Before I'm still doing cleanup. Because now I want to inline this. This method I extracted to move it over. Now I don't feel a great need to have it separate. I don't think it buys me that much. And I have to inline it. I want to inline it. And I have to do it by hand like a savage. Because we don't have inlining in either Xcode or Appcode at this point for, I should say, for Swift. It is present in Objective-C in Appcode. So let's do the normal thing, which is copy, paste. So far, so good. Don't jinx it, Mudshark. Because I use the same names, it should just fly through, and so we'll find out. The tests. So this is, Suki, what I'm doing is at every stage, every small step, and if you can take this in, well, apply it to most anything. Yes, no return value definitely made it easier to inline. This is a way of thinking that goes beyond test-driven development. It is part of agility, which is to try something, to see if you are successful. And in modern Agile, we call this experiment and learn rapidly. Experiment and learn rapidly. I don't think I've ever shared modern Agile with you folks. So here it is. Check that out when you have time. We want to, my experiment was the inlining successful? And the test says yes. So now, as the rest of that, I should now be able to get rid of the old code. And this. Whoops, not that. This commented out old version. So this really, modern Agile is not about project management. It includes project management. It is a way of living. We are junkies over at Industrial Logic about this. That this is a way, this goes beyond programming, this goes beyond development. Applying these 4 principles goes all sorts of places. It is mind-blowing. Modern Agile. With the 4 guiding principles. All right, so that was inline, which even though that was not automated, I followed the recipe. So this was inline method. And here's one more inline we can do. Yeah. Test-driven development is a dev thing. The ideas behind it are bigger, which is to try something, to have safety, to ship, to deliver value soon and continuously, and to do all this with the goal of making people awesome, making that, and where people includes the people using the thing, whatever it is, the people making the thing, that it is, in the end, it's about people. So I want to do an inline variable. Again, I do it like Savage with a bit of copy and paste. Okay, there we go. That's better. Now I have, here's the one for capturing alerts. Here's the one for capturing a presented view controller. And now we can move the swizzling. Don't jinx it. I do the Control Alt N mostly to try to impress my friends. Is that oh, right. Thank you. You can tell I'm suffering without my inline, because normally, like, I would totally get that. And the SAF squeeze is you know, I should pull up the SAF squeeze. Let's see. I think I've got it bookmarked. I've never done it, but it looks cool. For those of you who would like to check it out, here's a recent write-up of what is apparently an old technique that I've never actually used, but I want to try it sometime. And without being able to inline, oh, it would be hard. It would be hard. But the SAF squeeze is a technique for saying, my test fails and I don't know why. And you just start inlining it and keep it failing until eventually, basically, you have a whole bunch, your test grows, and then it's like, okay, so the test is all this code that would normally be in the production code. It's now in the test code, and now I can start trimming this down and narrowing it to find the spot of failure. You know, one great thing about macOS is that it's Unix underneath. So that is one thing I very much like. All right, so we're capturing, we're going to do this swizzling over on this side. Let's see if we can't do this. Here is the swizzle to capture the alert. I want to do something like that. Yeah, you'll get the hang of it, Suki. It won't be that hard. So I basically want something like this, except it's going to be capture present, and I'm going to call it 2. And let's try to move carefully here. Replace instance method, good. Present view controller animated completion. This is the same as this one. It's just that alerts make sure to capture only alerts, but they do swizzle the same original method, so I'm lucky there. And then here, this will be capturing it. I think that will do it. I wish I didn't have to copy and paste. That said, I think that one thing that surprises me about developers is seeing how they don't copy and paste stuff when there are opportunities to do so. Like I just did. To say, now sometimes it can get you into trouble to say, okay, I want something very much like that. And if it's too much, then you're bringing along too many things. But you saw I was careful with that. Today I'm being more careful because of last time. By starting with just the signature of the method. And this time I was able to take the other thing and copy and paste it. And let's see if it works. So let's find out where this is called. Here it is. A moment of truth. We will switch to present 2, the new version. And tests pass. Excellent. Lock this down. Switch VC present swizzling to Swift version. There we go. Looks like it did some other changes around just because now I have Swift format, and it's making some automated cleanups around white space and alignment. But as long as it passes, I'm good. Really, since I didn't know it was going to make those changes, it might be good for me to go through and run Swift format over the whole thing as its own step. But I'm not going to sweat it this time. It worries me a little. So let me show you what I'm worried about just a little bit. So these are the changes that it made. It reordered my imports. Like here, it changed static private set to private set static. Changing the order, changing indentation. All these kinds of things. Okay. I don't like it. I don't like it. I would rather have it be its own step. Take care, Tsuki. Thank you for coming. Good luck in your adventures. Come on back. Next week I won't be here. So take care. Yeah, next week I will be out, so no live coding at that time. So I didn't like this. And I would like to separate this out. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to reset. Since this isn't pushed, I don't have to revert it. My push is like way back here. Before. Whoa. I haven't pushed in that long. Oops. But I'm gonna reset. Let me just have a look. Yeah. I'm going to copy this so I don't lose it. And I'm going to reset it. Let's do this in stages. So reset the current branch hard to there. So we just threw that away. Back to green. Because what I would like to do is, and this is a thing. Maybe that's peculiar to when you really try to move in small steps, and my spidey senses go off, saying that's too much inside of one thing. I don't like that feeling, and I have to listen to that feeling. Last session, I was like, screw big steps. I mean, screw small steps. We got this. It's going to be fast and easy, and it ended up taking more time. Small steps. The only way small steps can cost you time is if your feedback loop is too slow, in which case you really need to try to figure out how to tighten that loop. So let me run Swift format over this by itself. And I have it set up inside of a shortcut. So I'll just do that. And it doesn't update for some reason. It doesn't refresh right away. A lot of times I have to switch away. And now I can see the changes along the left gutter there. And this was an automatic formatting right there. There. Now we can try again. Back over here. That's what I wrote. We can come to where it's called in the presentation. Capture present to. And let's do this again. Much better. Because now when I review, remember last time I saw a whole bunch of changes, which weren't the changes, which weren't this one line that I changed. Mixing things really unsettled me, even though at first I was like, oh, heck, it'll be fine. And I got that tingle that says, no, separated. Do that little bit of extra work to keep things separated. I will thank my future self, thanks my present self. So this is, and here I can reuse my message, switch to the present version. That's much better. Okay, so with that, I can now delete the old one. which is here. And it is present in the header where it's an Objective-C thing of like, this is the actual interface. But I can say, do a safe delete, and it will also disappear from the header. So that was an automated refactoring. And one more step, we rename it. And I'll just rename it from the call site here. And I think we are done with this, and consequently, unless there's more cleanup in here, before I mark this as done, let's go up. Let me just have a look around, because there may be things that I can like say this doesn't need to have Objective-C access anymore, or maybe something can be private or internal. I don't know. So this is not where I was working. That's not where I was working. Here. Hello, Whirlies. So this is not Android Studio. This is Appcode. The same style as Android Studio and as IntelliJ and as all the great IDEs of today from a company called JetBrains. And it is the way that I prefer to use to do Swift and iOS coding. There are times I use Xcode. One reason I haven't mentioned that sometimes bites me, it bit me a few days ago, was when I tried to make a project change, and Appcode sort of got confused. So I had to reset and go into Xcode and do the change there, and then that worked much better. How many programming languages do you know? Well, these days it's mostly Swift, and before that it was Objective-C, and before that I've also done Python. Python is a fun language. It's just a lot of fun. So I've written the Objective-C version of Hamcrest, which is was a popular tool for testing, and the Python version. I actually wrote that the initial Python version of Hamcrest as well. Before that, I was doing C++, which is a hairy language. It's got so much going on. Before that is getting ancient. One nice thing about, I do recommend learning a second programming language, because it will expose you to a different way of doing things, and you'll be able to see what's the same and what's different. That's very valuable, because of my exposure to things like I've never coded Java, actually. But watching people code in Java using IntelliJ has taught me stuff. So even if you don't code, watching other people code can be very helpful. Just discovered you now. I will watch it. I can say that we are a software developer. Okay. Yeah. So things like how does this language express how things are called? Objective-C, for example, is very different from most other languages in the way it does a much more pure object-oriented style based on small talk. It's not just calling stuff. You do use the language you have to, but it's fun to learn another one. Also, when I learn new languages now, I like to use test-driven development to learn the language. Because if I were starting all over, or if I were teaching little children, I don't teach children right now. I never have. But if I were to teach children how to code, we would start with a failing test. And we would get that test to pass. Actually, I would probably start with hello world, and then we would say, oh, great, okay, now how can we have the computer do things instead of us looking all the time? I am in San Jose, California, and there, my hello button is finally working. So I'm curious where other folks are. Oh, we have a fair number of people on right now. A massive 8. I can't keep up with the chat. I'm going to have to hire some moderators, right? I don't think so. Let's see. Where are we? Oh, I was going to look at cleaning things up. So like this internal, that doesn't need to be there because internal is the default access. And I think that is a provable refactoring, even though there's no recipe. So I'm going to say move internal. Is there anything else? Like this. Does this still have to be Obj-C? I don't think so. We'll find out. Nope. Oh, because it's the swizzling. It's the swizzled point, so it still needs to be Objective-C. Okay. All right. Well, I'm pretty satisfied with that. And that leaves us at a good point. Ta-da! Done. With dismissal verifier, next, and that's going to be very much like this one. Simple, not like the alert verifier, which had lots going on in there. And then hopefully we will be done. I am, as much as I'm tempted to blaze ahead, nah, I'd rather have more shorter sessions, hour-long-ish. And when we're done, we're done. And after that, I don't know what I'll do. Can you run the app? I wonder what app. There's actually, it's not an app. It is a library. And the app is a utility for testing. Let me see here. I don't think I have it set up to run, but I don't want to create a new thing. Let me fire it up in Xcode real quick. And I'll just show you. Let me make sure that debugging, oh, turn off the debugger. And I'll just show you real quick. This is it. The app shows an alert. The app has all these different ways of things that are presented or dismissed. An action sheet, a segue into a modal, segue into a show, and a code-based modal. Oh, I can't get out of the code-based modal. So it does all those things sort of as a way for me to do manual testing. But more interestingly, the SPY, which is the library that testing app uses, lets me test all those things like this. Boop, in 200 milliseconds. Not only is it easy to test, it's easy to write the test first for these things. So that, again, coming back to, I think what's his face? Tsuki's gone now, but to do test-driven development where I say, I want this thing to present an alert. I want this code to present an alert, and here's a test that fails as long as it doesn't present the alert. And then I write a failing test, and then I'm able to say, okay, now I will do the bare minimum to pass that test. And as soon as that happens, I know that at least what the test expresses works. Test-driven development. It is the way to roll, except for Swift UI. Which is particularly unfortunate for me because I've built my iOS career on, in my book, on being able to test a view controller, which is the old way of doing UI layout, with sort of the imperative style, which is issuing a bunch of commands. And that you can do TDD on. The book is still relevant, surprisingly, in spite of that, particularly because not everything is Swift UI yet. But even without that, when you write Swift UI, you move as much logic outside of the Swift UI portion into view models, and you can test drive those. All right, so thanks for coming. That is it for today. Consider subscribing on Twitch. If you are watching on YouTube, give it a like and subscribe. I will not be here next week, so I will look for me 2 weeks. Okay? Stay safe. Move in small steps. Take care, folks.